Welcome to Monday through Friday, Cellular Agriculture for a Pandemic-Free Future. This is episode number 15, I believe. Just check. Yeah. And it is July 27th, 2020 at 3:22 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, I want to start this episode by delving into the morality of this. Last episode, I think we covered the basics of this series, the science and, why from a pragmatic, practical, responsible perspective, we need to stop farming and eating animals. Whether we go vegan or ramp up investment in clean meat, cultured meat in this new industry. But yeah, today I want to focus more on morality. I want you to understand the message. I've referred to people who eat meat who are, kind of like as being worse than slaveholders. I've referred to what your friends, your family, what almost everyone, leaving aside maybe 1 or 2% of us here in the United States who are vegan and some other people in the world who are vegan. What you are doing, I've said, is more horrible than what the Nazis did during the Holocaust. It's more horrible than anything I can think of. More horrible than abortion. And so, and the reason I come to that assessment is like, well, I ask myself, if I had a choice, would I prefer to be in a concentration camp or a slave or an animal in one of these farms? And yeah, I'd much rather be in the Holocaust or a slave than being an animal in one of those farms, because and I think if you asked yourself that question, I think you'd understand. Chickens being cramped for up to a year with other birds in the same cage, cramped together so small, the cage being so small, cramped together so greatly that they can't even expand their wings, and that's just one example of way too many. And so, but all right, I have to understand this. I have to explain this. It'd be good to understand why it's like this, really. Why you're like this. But this episode, I want to at least begin by emphasizing, by explaining further that when I say these things, when I say that you're being more evil than slaveholders and Nazis, I don't say it with any blame. I don't blame you for being the way you are. I understand the conditions that caused you to be that way, and it's very easy. It's very easy to understand. You were born into this culture. You were raised thinking there was nothing wrong with what you're doing, and everyone else around you is doing the same thing, and nobody's complaining, and nobody's saying anything. So naturally, you figured it must not be terrible. I'm sure slaveholders felt that same way, in the 1800s, after several hundred years of slavery here in the Americas. They were born into it. They couldn't conceive that, they would be so wrong. And that's an interesting example, because now, if you ask the ancestors of the progeny of these slaveholders, you know, if how wrong slavery is, and then people get it, you know. So that was a major evolution in their moral understanding. So, all right, so I don't blame you. It's not your fault. Okay, just like, you know, we understand this from the criminal justice system. We understand that in many cases, let's say a person is born to abusive parents, or a person is born in an inner city, or a person is born, there's so many kinds of conditions, both sometimes favorable and sometimes very unfavorable, that lead to people committing crimes. And we know this, you know, we know this, and some of our criminal justice systems, like in the Netherlands, understand this much better than we do here in the United States. Their punishments aren't all that punitive. You know, and you know, they work better. It's all right. I'm getting a bit more sidetracked from what I want to say, I think. So, all right. So, no, I raised the prisons and the criminal justice system point for a reason, and the reason is that yes, we don't really, you know, blame. I mean, legally, you know, well, again, no, what I'm trying to explain is the difference between blame and accountability. Okay, so like, yes, even in the Netherlands, in the Scandinavian countries, you know, like, yeah, their criminal justice system is much more progressive than ours. It's much more humane, much more effective. But they don't excuse, they don't, you know, people don't have a free pass to commit crimes in those countries. They have rules, they have laws, and people have to meet them. If they don't, there are certain consequences. And so that is what we have to look at when we try to understand how so many people could be so evil simply by buying and eating these animals, you know, that again, most people just never think about this. So that's the point, is that we are accountable, that God holds us accountable. God holds us accountable individually and collectively. Individually, people who eat a lot of meat, fish, dairy, eggs, get heart disease and cancer and other diseases. People, they're not, and the evil, part of the evil of that is not being careful with their own health. You know, not only some people have insufficient respect and concern for the rights of the animals, the lives of the animals that they're eating, but too many people don't have enough respect for their own lives, and God, through nature, through these diseases, you know, exacts punishment. And again, you know, from God's perspective, it's you know, it's punishment exactly how punishment comes from a parent to a child. You know, a parent never wants to punish their child. You know, that's something that just, you know, if they recognize that it's necessary for the benefit of the child, and they do it with regret. But they understand it needs to be done sometimes. And, you know, we try to be as least punitive as possible, to punish as little as possible, to try to craft good behavior through praise. Maybe I should start doing this on the show, perhaps more. Praise you for all the good you do, because I'm not saying you don't do good, but yeah, with a parent, they do it out of love, and God is punishing us now with COVID-19 out of love also for those animals. God loves all living sentient beings. So to have one species, we humans, just abusing and torturing and killing 70 billion animals unnecessarily every year is something that is in great need of correction. So all right, let me get back to this issue of blame. This isn't when I tell you that it's not your fault, I think you understand it. You understand that, well, hey, I was a kid, everybody's eating meat, my parents are eating meat, my friends are eating, everybody's eating meat, Of course it's not wrong, we're good people. Or, we're told, well, these animals, they're not really like us, they don't really feel pain, or we're told, kind of like shifting the point, we're told, well, God gives us the right to eat meat. That's not the point. Yeah, God gives us the right to eat meat. God does not give us the right to abuse and torture the animals for that meat. So, but you're not to blame. It's important for you to understand that. And let me explain why it's so important. Okay. If you believe you're to blame, if you believe it's your fault fundamentally, it just like, it reveals something deeply flawed and evil in you, you're going to defend yourself. You're going to say, no, that's not me. That's not who I am. And you're going to be right. You're going to be right, because like, that isn't who you are. You and your best self, who you'd want to be, who the world, who you'd want the world to be. No, we wouldn't want to do things like that. You don't want to do, you understand, you understand what you're doing, and you understand it's wrong, but you don't look at it because you're blaming yourself, on some level. And because you blame yourself, you have to move away from it. You can't face it. You basically are in denial. It's a collective denial of the evil, and it's understandable, because from your perspective, if you blamed yourself and you'd feel really badly, not just about yourself, but about everyone else, who does the same thing, which is almost everyone here in the United States. I guess one reason I can confront this the way I've been with you is that yes, I understand that we're not fundamentally responsible for what we do, for the mistakes we make, for the evil we do. We all do evil in various ways. I mean, like, it's impossible to escape, even being, I guess, 5 without doing evil, without having evil thoughts, and just, whether we lie, steal, cheat, whatever we do. All right, let's get to a deeper level so you can understand better why this isn't your fault. There are 4 scientists in the world who are in a league of their own. All the other scientists, they're great Nobel-winning scientists, great scientists who've done a lot of great things, but there are four who stand out above them. The first one is Isaac Newton, who pretty much almost single-handedly invented classical physics, which is essentially the physics we use now. Newtonian physics, it's really modern physics. It's what most of the physics is about now. And the man was like beyond brilliant. And he did not believe in free will. He understood from a physics perspective that everything has a cause, and if we do something evil, there's a cause to that. And if everything has a cause, there's a cause to the cause of our having done evil, a cause to that. And I know this is a bit abstract, but it's just like, that's how the universe unfolds. You know, something happens that causes something else to happen, that causes something else to happen. Started with the Big Bang. We don't know what happened before that, but since then, you know, the world has been evolving moment by moment in this manner. So, you know, Newton understood this. The second great of these four amazing scientific minds is Charles Darwin. And Darwin is a biologist. He developed evolution, you know, which profoundly changed the way we think of ourselves in our world. You know, moving away from this myth of the Garden of Eden and a talking serpent and a woman being pulled out of the rib of the man, Adam and Eve. He was brilliant in that way, and he, from the perspective, from a different science, he wasn't a physicist, he's coming from biology, he refuted free will. He asserted, no, we do not have free will. Then there's Zigmund Freud, who I know to many has fallen out of disfavor because he made some postulations that are unscientific and that they really can't be proven to be true or false. At least, hold on now, I've got some noise outside. I better stop this. All right, I'm going to keep going, and I hope this worked. Last time I did this, I ended up with not enough time for the episode. I hope this works. Anyway, sorry about that. The third major mind, scientific mind, Zigmund Freud, he basically got us to appreciate, you know, he's coming from psychology, from neuroscience. He got us to appreciate the existence of our unconscious, this part of our mind that is there. We, you know, since he introduced the concept over 100 years ago, we've scientifically determined in many ways its existence. It's like beyond dispute. So, but he basically introduced us to the concept in a way that demonstrated to us its profound influence on human behavior. So yeah, he's you know, people, I don't really believe in that. For example, the Oedipus Complex, where, you know, a young male infant, you know, is competing with the father for the mother, so that the young male infant wants the father dead, like you know, in the Oedipus myth, the Greek myth. So yeah, so like, you know, again, that's a speculation that it's, you know, science can't say whether that's true or not. I don't know if science ever will be able to, but even though Freud, you know, may have been wrong in a few things like that, He was wrong about happiness. You know, for example, he once wrote that the best any of his patients could ever expect is to return to what he referred to as an average level of misery or something to that effect, suggesting that people, you know, who don't have illnesses, emotional illnesses, aren't at all happy, implying that everybody's miserable. That's the best life gives you. So, like, yeah, he was powerfully wrong with that assessment, unless he would, like, he's been misquoted in the literature. I don't know. But anyway, coming from a psychological perspective, unconscious, he taught that free will is impossible. He makes a statement to that effect. And lastly, we have Isaac Newton, who, Albert Einstein, who, you know, just as Isaac Newton almost single-handedly developed classical physics, Isaac Newton almost single-handedly developed quantum mechanics, quantum physics, which is like the physics we now use for subatomic particles that are too small to be measured and worked with under Newtonian physics. That's essentially the benefit of Einstein's contribution. I mean, he also just blew our mind in terms of, like, explaining that the time can go faster for one person than the next, that space and time are one, you know, entity, that energy and mass are really one stuff. You know, the guy was beyond brilliant too. He also refuted this notion of free will. And he, you know, he provides a great, you know, there's several quotes, you know, attributed to him that deal with the matter of free will. And in one of them, he goes on after saying he doesn't believe in free will. He says that belief keeps him from considering himself and others too seriously, too importantly. In other words, like, with him, he was saying it engendered modesty. You know, he knew how great he was, but you know, not believing in free will helped him to not have his greatness go to his head. He realized it wasn't up to him. It was like, you know, yeah, you know, I don't have free will. The universe made me do this. God made me do this. Whatever we want to see it. So anyway, so we've got about less than 5 minutes. It's important for you to understand this. So, like, yes, free will is the idea that what we do is up to us, you know, whereas, like, the reality, you know, is these four top minds, and nobody, there are no scientists, other scientists in their class, you know, and yeah, so who are you going to trust, you know? And you know, the case against free will is like, so, you know, so solid. Just ask, for example, if you had a free will, you know, think of the last time you blew up at someone, you know, you became angry, you know, disrespectful, you know, hurtful, or let's say to your children, to people you really, really love. And then, you know, ask yourself, well, where was your free will there? You know, you did this of your own free will? I don't think so. You know, because you know, if you're a parent of young children, you'll probably do it again and again, unfortunately, and you know, and it's the last thing you want to do. You know, but you know, you understand that that no, you don't have a free will to be able to be calm and supportive and loving, you know, every moment of every day. We don't, unfortunately. So again, the reason this is so important is that one major reason why you and so many people are continuing to eat meat, you know, not just abusing and torturing those animals, you know, paying people to do that for you, Um, but, you know, doing so in a way that caused, in a certain sense, this pandemic, because like people wouldn't be eating wild animals in China if people across the world stopped eating animals. You know, so, you know, this is, you have a complicity, it's like aiding and abetting. It's like you're condoning a certain behavior that other people take to another level. I mean, like, you know, we here in the United States eat snails and squid, and, you know, so like, you know, between that and eating a bat or whatever, you know, it's a subjective kind of assessment. But yeah, you can't, you know, as long as you hold yourself and everyone else around you responsible, fundamentally responsible in the sense of having a free will for your actions, it's much more difficult for you to face this squarely and understand, yes, I'm doing this, we're doing this, and it's causing us a lot of harm, and this is our punishment from God for that. So got about a minute and a half left. I think I'm going to go 10 seconds over because I think last time it, because I think this, yeah. So, all right. Yeah, you don't, it's not your fault, but again, the point is the way the world works, and, you know, it's unfortunate, I suppose, but like we're compelled, you know, by God, or, you know, to do wrong, and we're punished for the wrong we do. And so it's just like, from a pragmatic perspective, it's just wise and smart to stop doing what's wrong, stop eating animals, start being kinder toward life, so that God doesn't have to punish us. You know, and you understand this from religion. You know, God, you know, rewards and punishes us. You know, Judeo-Christianity, Islam, I mean, throughout the world. All right. Well, watch us Monday through Friday. Watch me Monday through Friday. White Plains Community Media, Channel 45, Verizon, 76, Optimum. And the episodes are on YouTube. I'll be back tomorrow, probably, you know, moving away from this morality again into more of the science, more of the practical reasons why we really need to stop farming and eating meat if we're serious about keeping free of future pandemics. Okay, see you tomorrow.